Welcome to my library, dear guest. My name is Cole, and I will be your storyteller. What is the first thing you think of when somebody tells you they wish to play a 12-year-old child in your campaign? Well, if the group you play with is normal, you probably don't think much of it. Child characters can be fun if you don't cross over into constantly annoying territory. But given that you are on my channel, you can probably figure where this goes. Especially when I add that the looks of said character are based on an anime character. This and the story of a woman who, for the life of her, could not differentiate between character and player in the worst way possible are what we will be reading today. So without further ado, let us get into our first story. Story number 1. Either put on some pants or leave. By the author, Ajaron. So, I've been sitting on this one for a while. Back at university, there was a guy who literally had a ring binder full of pop culture characters he'd RPG-fied. This would have been fine, nothing wrong with taking inspiration from pop culture, but they were invariably edgy or weepy, and I don't think he ever really got why his characters would encounter problems in every single RPG. He wasn't just basing them on the characters, they just were the characters. We'll call this guy Headphones, since he usually had a big old pair of headphones with him. As an example of the problems headphones would cause, he once got a party to kill his character twice in a one-shot, because, we later found out, he was playing Nico Bellic from GTA and got pissy he couldn't be the captain of our skyship. He refused to help in our first fight, then tried to assassinate the captain instead, and generally did lots of heinous stuff that derailed the campaign and prompted us to just murk him. Since this made the one-shot run over, the GM let Headphones roll up a new character for the next session. His response to being invited to join the crew and thus play is to say, "Fuck off!" and to point a gun at us when we offer again, then at his own head. He does more heinous stuff, including threatening the orphaned cabin boy and his puppy we'd picked up with a gun, until we kill him again. Turns out, he was playing himself from the future without telling the GM. Suffice to say, Headphones had a reputation amongst the GMs as a that guy, although there was nothing really malicious to it. Most of the GMs were very experienced and knew to just keep a close eye on his shenanigans. The main story I want to tell is of when our most experienced GM ran a World War II themed Scion game and lost his patience with a player for the first and only time that I've ever seen. The main issue arose in Session 0, when people were coming up with their characters. One player came up with a janitor who was a scion of the Aztec god of garbage and waste. One was a surfer who was a scion of a Japanese water goddess. Headphones gets out his trusty ring binder and starts flicking through it. I forget what set of powers or even what pantheon he ended up picking, but what I do remember is the character he chose from his binder. I should point out, none of us had any idea who this particular character was when he said their name, and it was only when he showed us the printed out picture that one of the anime nerds around the table was able to say, "Oh, it's X from obscure Gundam/Evangelion clone anime." There were a few uncomfortable glances as we realized Headphones wanted to play a lolly in a skin-tight jumpsuit who was, squinting. We could see her age was listed as 12. Now, the GM was very tactful about this. He pushed back gently, but firmly, and gave good in-game reasons, as well as reasons why he personally wasn't comfortable with it. It is the 1940s. She just wouldn't be wearing that. I'd really feel more comfortable with her being a bit older since she's going to be going into a war and fighting Nazis. I don't think it's too much to ask that you play a character who's slightly appropriate to the setting. After a surprising amount of pushback, including Headphones saying he might join a different campaign, we get to Session 1 the next week. Headphones' character has, reluctantly, been aged up to 15, and Headphones is well aware that GM is very uncomfortable with the idea of a child wearing a skin-tight latex catsuit in his game. Problem solved. The game goes on. Headphones is a little quiet, but plays a shy, withdrawn character who takes decisive action when needed very well, and it's actually the best I've ever seen him get along with a group. He even saves the day at a few points. And then, after about 12 sessions, it happens. The party is headed to Egypt to chase down a powerful relic, and the GM asks how we've dressed for hot weather and the desert. He gets to Headphones, who casually says, "Well, she's just sorta wearing her flight suit like usual, so it just recycles her sweat as water." The entire table falls silent and turns to look at Headphones. Then, slowly, to GM. "What?" GM asks, clearly annoyed. "Her flight suit's like a second skin, so it can— So, despite me telling you that I didn't want that in my campaign, you're telling me she's been wearing it the whole time." At this point, Headphones has realized GM is pissed. "You just— what? Figured it was fine as long as you didn't mention it?" I forgot how exactly the argument went after that. It was over 10 years ago. But it went on for about 20 minutes. There wasn't any yelling, but it basically descended into GM banging his head against the brick wall that was Headphones, wanting to die on this hill of playing as a lolly. In the end, GM gave him an ultimatum. "You have two choices. Either put on some pants or leave." To everyone's surprise, Headphones said he'd have to think about it. He didn't turn up for the rest of the campaign, and I think he joined another campaign that was running instead. Edit. Turns out the lolly was Shiro from Deadman Wonderland. Thank you, user Mgrana. Oh, you were pushing it by making him play as a 15-year-old instead of a 12-year-old. But having his character put on some clothes? That's too much. That's taking it way too far. I cannot imagine for the life of me why it was so important to him that he had to quit the game, but really, it was probably for the best. Also, you would think, since he wanted the character to be 12 at first, that that would be the age that she was in the anime, right? But it isn't. She's 14 to 15. Okay, look, it's still bad, mind you, but he made it worse. I also figured I should put up a picture. This is Shiro. She's got a big case of true form Midna going on here because at first I thought this was just her skin. I thought she was actually wearing nothing because, I mean, why couldn't she just be an adult? On the topic of having characters inspired by media, by the by, nothing wrong with that. Really, you can't make anything original anymore as is. Everything has been done before. The same goes for DMs who wish to create their own world. Take inspiration from as much as you want. I also can't say there is a problem with just wanting to play as a character that you like. It doesn't hurt anyone, and as long as you don't feel entitled to being treated a special way because you play the chosen hero so you're the main character, it's fine. It's not for me, but hey, whatever makes you happy. But you may want to think twice about playing a GTA character, or well, this. Also, because I didn't want to leave you without a visualization, here is what his character would have looked like among her group in the 1940s. You know what, that's actually pretty funny. Moving on. Story number 2. Paladin demands group kill my character on sight. Leaves table and ruins game when they refuse. By the author, CG Bard usually. This happened back in 2010, I believe, and we were playing 3.5. Most of us involved in the game were in the Navy. The main cast, me, the DM, and the DM's wife. Me, the DM, and 2 other players were all in the Navy and on the same ship. We found out we were all into D&D through a random conversation that came up and got really excited, so we decided to set up a campaign. DM said we could have meetings at his house. Since I crashed on his couch occasionally, I already knew he had the space to accommodate us. DM said his wife would want to play, and 1 of 4 other players said his wife would also like to play. That gave us 5 players and a DM. The ship was going to deploy in 2 months, so the DM said we could just give him our character sheets and backstories to approve before the first meeting. I told him that I'd always been a chaotic good bard, or rogue, and was interested in doing something very different, and had a concept put together for a lawful evil monk, and possibly doing a sort of redemption arc, wherein the monk, through the power of friendship, eventually shifts to good. He said that sounded like a really cool idea, and approved of it. The day of the first session arrived, and, in the interest of time, we did the "you all meet in a tavern" handwave for why we're all together. That's when DM's wife, a lawful good paladin, says to the rest of the party, "The monk is evil. I can sense it. We cannot travel together with darkness among us. Join me in killing the evil hiding within our ranks." The rest of the party told her out of character that absolutely not, we're not killing off a character in the first meeting. That would mean that she doesn't even get to play and will be behind, because she has to make a whole new character sheet. Can't your paladin let this slide? That's when she dropped the shitty metagamey bomb on me. "It's not just the paladin. I will not play with an evil character." DM tried to explain the alignment shift arc we had planned, but she was adamant that she wouldn't play with someone evil, pointing at me. I was super confused because, again, I crashed on this guy's couch a couple of times a week when I didn't feel like sleeping on the ship. His wife knew me and we got along. Her justification was, "Anyone who would play an evil character is clearly a bad person, because how could you do evil actions in a game if you don't believe in them for yourself?" The rest of the party was still adamant that I hadn't caused any problems, and since the redemption arc had been spoiled, they knew I wasn't going to cause problems down the road. The problem was the DM's wife, and not even for a character/story/in-game reason. She couldn't separate the player from the character, and that wasn't something any of us wanted in our game. When the party refused to kill my character, which I guess she thought would teach me a lesson about why playing an evil character is bad, she had her character fall upon her own sword, which really killed the vibe. We tried to continue on with the adventure, but DM's wife was loudly scoffing and huffing in the background, and decided that, in the middle of our session, was just the best time to vacuum the living room, make herself a smoothie in the blender, etc. Just, in general, being very loud and disruptive. DM said his wife wouldn't let him host anymore because she didn't want evil in their house. The only other people in housing had pets that the DM was severely allergic to, and the other player's wife didn't want to come onto the ship to play on the mess decks because she got seasick. The other player whose wife wanted to play dropped the group entirely because he really wanted to play with his wife. I was also discharged from the Navy within a week of deployment due to some unexpected health issues, so I don't know if they ever managed to get a game going on the ship. In addition, I was not allowed to crash on his couch anymore, as DM's wife had banned me from their home entirely. While we maintained a friendship on the ship, he did tell me that his wife had told him to stop speaking to me, period. I asked him if maybe she thought he and I were having an affair, and he assured me that was not the case at all. She legitimately thought that having the desire to play an evil character made me an evil person. While I feel like Session 0 could have exposed the problem earlier and prevented me from even rolling an evil character to begin with, I still can't help but wonder if she would have reacted the same way for even thinking about playing an evil alignment. The moral of the story: don't skip Session 0 and understand that a player is not their character. Edit. Some additional info. The DM, male 28, and his wife, female mid-40s, didn't tell me, 19-year-old female, they'd been playing together for 10 years, and he'd been DMing for 8 years. I've been playing for 4 years on and off, and genuinely just wanted to play something different since I'd essentially been rolling the same character over and over with all the chaotic good bards and rogues. The listed ages are accurate to when this happened, which was in 2010. A decent amount of time has passed, and I don't know what became of them after I got off the ship. As amusing as I find the people speculating in the comments that she's some kind of religious nut, y'all got the wrong religion. She's self-identified as a white light Wiccan, or as I call them, a fluffy bunny. I have to wonder if they think the same way about the DM, who, inevitably has to play out somebody who is evil.
Oh my god, I did not know I was playing with a murderer!
What are you talking about?
You just killed my character! How could you do that in a game if you don't believe it's okay?
What? No! You're fighting the big bad evil guy. Of course he's going to try and kill you. All of you.
Oh, so you want to kill the entire table? I think I should get out. You're scaring me. Can't have that kind of evil around me.
You know what? Yeah, I think you should. I have stated my opinions on evil characters before. If you have discussed it with the group beforehand, especially the DM themselves, I think it's fine, especially with a planned redemption arc. Personally, I don't like playing with them, but I do admit that they can be done well. Now as for this is stupid. This woman is stupid. God, this is the sort of person who thinks you excuse an evil character's actions simply because you like the character. Oh, you like Jack Horner? Does that mean you agree with his abuse of employees, murder, animal abuse, being just a general asshole? Nope, man, I just think he's really entertaining as a villain. How could you do evil actions in a game if you don't believe in them for yourself? Nobody tell her about video games. With today's stories being told, we move on to the last part of the video. The exhibition journal, where I display the fan art you make for this channel. Today's fan art was done by TheAgentMyers. It shows me wielding my newfound magic. I'm still getting used to it, but I am getting the hang of it. Mostly. Thank you for making me look much cooler than I actually am. Honestly, look at this. Majestic. You versus the owl she tells you not to worry about. Thank you so much for your fan art, TheAgentMyers. If you want to submit your own fan art, you can do so per the Discord link in the description below, which will lead you to this channel server. It's quite cozy, I'd say, so come hang out if you'd like. If you do not have Discord though, you may also send it to the email linked in my About section. I should also mention that this will be the last exhibition journal for a bit, as we have run out of fan art to show. Thank you all so very, very, very much for the time put into your works, and know that I appreciate every single one of them. We will see the segment again once I have more to share with you. You can be assured of that. That is it for today. I hope you enjoyed your stay and that I will see you again soon, for there are always more stories to be shared.